Hi everyone, good evening. Today what we're going to be talking on Mind Over Matter is about forgiveness. We're going to wait for a few to join in. Hello everyone and lovely to see you. Alright, so let's get started. Today's topic on Mind Over Matter with me, Banaisha Karas, is the art of forgiving. So today we're going to be talking about how should we forgive, or what kind of state of mind should we be in when people hurt us, people upset us, and when we find it difficult in order to forgive. So I hope I'm audible to everyone out here, and I'm going to begin just in a moment. So turning off the comments. Alright, so let's start with today's session, which is the art of forgiving. So forgiveness for all of us could be various things or different things. For some of us, we find it very difficult to be able to forgive one another. We find it a little tedious, we find it a little treacherous, or sometimes we also find it a little unnerving to be able to forgive. And hopefully for some, it would be very easy to forgive as well. So let me begin with a quote. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and to discover that the prisoner was you. So it's really important to set your emotions free, to allow yourself to feel the way that you do feel in any format that comes to you, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. Because even negative emotions do have impact on us, and they can make us think and feel and act in a particular way, which could be beneficial in the long run as well. So let's start off with the first point. Refrain from judgment. So when you stop judging and simply become an observer, you will know and realize that there is a lot of inner peace that comes within you. With that sense of inner peace, you'll find yourself to be in a very happy space, in a more content space. And a bonus that you will find that others are much more attracted to you. Now, we live in a space wherein a lot of us go through judgments. A lot of us judge ourselves a lot many times. Now, these judgments can refrain us from actually progressing forward and moving forward in any relationship that we choose to seek, whether it's a work relationship or a personal relationship, right? So let's start off with refraining from judgments. The second pointer comes down to learn to let go and be like water. So water is one of the natural components that has a lot of fluidity, that kind of just cruises through things, right? Whether it's rocks, whether it's water itself, water tends to float as much as it can on surfaces. It also has a lot of fluidity towards rocky substances, to harder surfaces. It does not necessarily have a definite form, but it changes and adapts the form of its container, as we've learned even in our younger days. So rather than attempting to dominate with your forcefulness in any relationship, be like water. Flow everywhere. There is an opening, right? Soften your harder edges when you feel like you're being too hard on certain relationships, certain individual, like you must do this and you have to do that. Try to soften out and be almost like water, right? When someone offers you their viewpoint, try responding with, I've never considered that before. Thank you. I'll give it a thought. Now you may take it or you may not take it. It's very different. However, it's always important to give respect in order to receive respect. A lot of times you might feel like I'm always giving respect, but I receive none. Well, consistency is king. If you do it 100 times, that's when you'll get results. Sometimes 99 is never 100 also, right? And 99% does not mean that it's 100% guarantee. Similarly, you can't say I've tried it a lot of times and it's just not worked. Well, keep trying till you finally reach your 100% goal, I would say. So let's be a lot more fluid, just like water in our relationships. Point number 3, avoid telling people what to do. Now, we often land up in our relationships telling people what to do because we feel we have the right, or we feel like we're entitled to do so because of the relationship that we hold to. And at the same time, we often feel that, I'm saying this out of goodwill, I mean well, and all of the above. Now, when we disregard any inclination to dominate in all of our relationships, we not only feel liberated, but we also give liberation to the opposite person. Because when you keep on telling people what they should do and shouldn't do, you are not only binding yourself with preconceived notions and judgments, but you're also binding your relationship and that opposite person with your judgments of them, right? So from the moment on, you'll be free of frustration when you avoid telling people really what to do. And you won't blame other people, because over here what you're actually doing is your ego is dominating all of these decisions of yours. So you're constantly feeling like people have to do what I tell them to do because I'm their father, mother, brother, sister, husband, wife, parent, anything that comes across, right? So avoid telling people what to do. It becomes a lot more liberating. You feel like forgiving a lot easily because you understand that everyone does not think like you. Everyone does not believe in the same things as you do. And everyone has a different perspective, right? So moving on to point number 4, which is whenever you are in a situation which has caused you anger, which has caused you to be upset about something, move on to the next act. So your past history and all of your hurts are no longer here in your physical reality. Your life is like a play with several acts, right? Some of the characters who have a short role to play in your life come, and some have a larger role, so some come and go, right? Some are villains and the others are good guys, but all of them are necessary to have in your life. Otherwise they wouldn't be in the play, and that wouldn't give you any experiences. So embrace them all and move on to the next act. So somebody has hurt you, somebody has spoken ill about you. We must take the pain, learn from the pain, and then move on to the next chapter of our lives. Because if we keep on holding that pain within us and very, very deeply, what happens here is that not only we become bitter, but we also pass on that bitterness to every other possible relationship that we might get into, right? So there is a saying which I read, and I kind of rephrased it on my page as well, which says that if you kind of don't heal from your previous wounds, you'll cut yourself and you'll bleed on other people who did not even cause that wound. So make sure that your past relationships are completely sealed. Otherwise, your past wounds will be spilling blood on your future on your future relationships, which might not be the best thing for you. So move on to the next act. Appreciate everyone who has given you even critical and negative feedback. A lot of people don't know how to say things to you, and that might hurt you. Fair enough. But learn to accept that, learn to understand, and to see, is there any truth in what they are saying? If you feel that there is no truth in what they are saying, then what's the point of brooding over, because they don't understand you? And if you feel that there is some truth in what they are saying, then swallow that bitterness and take on that fact that you need to work towards certain things about yourself and move forward. But do not hold the person as a bad individual, because everyone comes here for a reason and for a season. Alright? So let's move on to point number 5. which is don't go to sleep angry. So I often tell all of my clients that, especially couples, that try to resolve fights as much as possible before you go to sleep. Liberating your thoughts and feelings which are negative before you go to bed will only allow you to de-stress your body and to rejuvenate overnight. It also allows your body and your mind to unplug, just like our phones, right? In order for us to restart the next morning with a positive as well as a calmer perspective. This is something that truly works for me. I know that sometimes life can be very stressful, and by sleeping over it, you feel like you're running away from the situation. We're not really running away from the situation, we're pausing the situation only to take on a different, calmer perspective after our physical body has got enough rest in order for our mind to really function for the coming up battle that we might have to face, right? So try and not go to sleep angry. Number 6, switch your focus from blaming others to understanding yourself. Now, it's really important that we know that we need to take on responsibilities for our own actions. There is a famous quote which says you can't clap with one hand, right? You clap with two hands, which here means that as much as the other person might be wrong, you also might be wrong in some format or the other. So by taking responsibility of how you choose to respond to anything of anyone, you're aligning yourself with the beautiful dance of life. Alright? So by changing the way you choose to perceive the power that others have over you, you will see a bright and a new world of unlimited potential for yourself. And you will know instantly how to forgive and let go of a lot of things. So switch your mindset from blaming others to understanding yourself. There have been many moments in my life personally that have got me to think of this thought, that I landed up actually telling people or thinking about people and saying that, so-and-so has done this wrong to me and so-and-so has done that wrong to me, without really realizing that why are so many people doing wrong to me? Now, if there are events in your life that are consecutively happening in a similar pattern, maybe it's not your timing in life, but maybe it's you. There are sciences which talk about your time being bad, your stars not being aligned, but the cosmos also responds to your behavior. You have the ability to change and align your cosmos depending on your behavior. Every single move that you make in your life is not dependent only on your horoscope and your stars. It is dependent on you and your actions at that very moment. If you take one left instead of a right, your cosmos changes. So every time your cosmos is actually changing depending on the current decisions and the actions you take. So forgiveness is a very important role for yourself, because you need to know where you are in your life so that you stop blaming other people and you stop blaming the cosmos and the universe and your stars and the alignments of your horoscope and so on and so forth, and actually work towards what could be the deficit within your own behavior. There are many times all of us go through bad days, and we'll end up seeing motivational videos, or we'll end up attending these sessions like currently you're watching this video. But what truly makes the shift or the difference in your life is what you do after this video, what you practice from this video, what you really take back home and retain from this video. Life is not just about listening to motivational talks. Life is about motivating yourself and actually doing all the things that the motivational talks tell you. So switch your focus from blaming others to understanding yourself. A very important virtue that I learned over the years. And lastly, coming to my point number 7, which is be kind instead of right. A lot of times in our fights, we tend to want to be right. We want to have the last word. We want to have the last say. We want to be that person who knows it all. But remember, you don't know things that you don't know. So instead of being right, try to just be kind. Imagine if someone says something to you that you find offensive. And rather than opting for resentment, you learn to depersonalize, which means that I'm not going to take this to my heart. I'm not going to take this personally. You depersonalize what you've just heard and respond instead with kindness by saying, sure, I understand what you're saying. Yes, I could have been wrong. I'm also sorry about what happened. Yes, it probably was my mistake as well. I too had a misunderstanding from this end. Or maybe while you speak now, I do realize that yes, I could have been wrong too, and I apologize for that. It's such a liberating feeling. It's such a good feeling for yourself as well as for the opposite person. And be truly genuine about it. Don't be like, to just end the fight, I'm just, okay, I'm sorry, okay, fine, I'm done. No, don't do those things. Because those gestures, that tone, those choice of words make the opposite person feel that you're insulting them furthermore by just being sarcastic than actually being genuine, right? So, you are willing here to freely send the higher, faster energies of love, peace, joy, forgiveness, and kindness as your response, rather than giving bitterness and that position of I want to be right and I want to be on top and mine is the last word, right? So be kind rather than being right. With that, I would like to end on a quote. The first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. But the first to forget is the happiest. My motto in life is not to forgive and forget necessarily. Forgive. Maybe if you want, don't forget, because learn from those mistakes that you have made and you can do better. But definitely forget the unpleasant moments that others have probably created in your life or have repercussioned in your life because of a situation that they have been. No one intentionally wants to hurt you if they truly love you. And the ones who love you will come to a consensus with you to reconnect and rekindle. And the others who don't matter, how does it matter if they have forgiven you or not, if they are not so important and they don't matter to begin with? So my policy of life is to always say thank you, sorry to the ones who truly matter, most definitely. A lot of times people say, don't say thank you and don't say sorry in friendship. But I believe that it's really important to say thank you and sorry, most definitely in friendship and in other close relationships, because they are the ones that matter the most. Not that I'm saying that you shouldn't say these two words to strangers as well. You definitely should. But please do share these sentiments as well with your closed ones, because they're the ones who truly matter. Alright, so with that, I would like to now take on questions from you. Alright, so I'm going to turn on comments. Okay, so I'm going to take on any kind of questions you have now. I've got a question here which says how to stop judging ourselves. So how to stop judging ourselves is a long drawn process, but it's really, really important to every time check what you speak to yourself. So if you feel like you're constantly saying, but I'm so stupid, or I'm so dumb, or I shouldn't be saying this, or I shouldn't be doing that, these are all judgments that you are passing by yourself. So when you start to sound like this, cut it and say, you know what, I'm going to calm down. I'm not gonna judge so much. I'm going to let things flow. All right. Okay. So how important is forgiveness? Well, forgiveness is really important for your mental peace. If you don't forgive people, you will be holding grudges all your lives. And maybe you'll take them to your grave, and that will just not be nice, because you're actually not doing anything for the upliftment of your soul. For your body, you didn't do it all your life, but even for your soul, you've really not done anything good. and you live in the sense of insecurity and bitterness that somebody else is going to hurt you, and you never truly give your 100% in relationships because of your past, because you're not able to forgive. So I think it's really important. All right. Okay, so this question says, lovely, but don't you think forgiveness is a very personal choice and one should be allowed not to forgive as well? Yes, you're allowed not to forgive. That's completely your call. I'm no way saying that you have to forgive and you should forgive and it's a must to forgive. None of the above. I'm simply saying it would be nice if you learned to forgive. Sometimes we choose not to forgive because we hold our ego more than our relationships. You need to decide if this person, if this relationship, if this opportunity is really important to you. Personally speaking, I think I have lost a lot of opportunities and messed up a little bit somewhere, somehow, in captivating and understanding in my youth, wherein I thought that not forgiving or pretending to forgive and not really forget was the right way forward. But it only meddles with your relationships. It only complicates the relationships because you keep on bringing the past back for people, and that opposite person will want to leave saying that you're not really over the past. You said you forgive me. I said I was sorry. You said it's okay, but you really didn't mean it. So if you really don't want to forgive the person, then I would suggest that you move out of that relationship and make it clear to the person that you're not ready to forgive. So it's a choice. All right. Even if I forgive, it is difficult to forget. Yes, it does take time. To forget does take a lot of time. However, if you start to see that when you forgive somebody, you're not only allowing them to grow, but you're allowing yourself to grow. So forgetting that incident happens over a period of time, and it happens over a long period of time. So say maybe you were in a bad relationship or a bad job. Your past will keep on haunting you when you move into the next relationship or the next job. But that does not mean that you keep on judging this job and this relationship, which is new in your life, dependent on how your ex-boss or your partner treated you. Because then you're truly not giving the opportunity to the new opportunities that have come in your life. You are constantly going back and forth. So the opportunity that is lying in front of you, which is your new partner and your new job, you are not giving your 100%. So they are slowly going to move away, and that's going to break your heart again in a different format. So try not opening old wounds on newer opportunities, because they might bleed on to things that are not even their pain, right? Okay. How to be kind to yourself if in a situation, if others keep criticizing you and if you feel that you are good for nothing. So if a lot of people constantly criticize you every single time, try to understand that is it true in any format? Is there any truth to it? If there is no truth to it, then let it go, and don't bother so much about it, because they don't know you. And if you feel there's even 1% truth to it, try working to those aspects. When I was growing up, a lot of people told me that I was useless, good for nothing, never gonna make it in life, and so on and so forth. And I asked myself, Panaisha, is there any truth in what they're saying? And at that point of time, I said yes, because I'm really not doing anything for myself. I'm really not working towards myself. So what did I need to do? I needed to start getting going. I needed to start understanding what I wanted from life, what career path I wanted, whether it was my studies, whether it were my relationships, what did I want out of life? If you don't know what you want, at least start to know what you don't want. Clarity will come to you soon enough. So when people are saying things about you, you need to ask yourself, what are you saying about yourself? If it's very different, then keep focused on what you say about yourself and keep working towards it. Life is not about proving things to other people. It's first about convincing yourself that you have the appetite. And once you do, That's it. Ideas will just come to you and situations will just happen to you because you've liberated that thought. You're not allowing other people to dominate you. I hope I've answered you. What advice would you give to people who overthink? So you practiced overthinking a lot of times. How about now practice not thinking at all? Right? Overthinking is, it's a procedure. It's something that you choose to constantly do again and again. But when you say no to it, you actually give yourself more power than a just random thought that comes to you. So overthinking is a habit, and a habit can be broken once it is stopped or nipped in the bud or made caution of. So if you think that your mind is racing in a different direction, just try to divert it and say, you know what, I'm not going to think about this. I'm going to start thinking about something else. And think about something that's more pleasant or something that you have more control over. And every time you have a negative thought that you go into a different sphere, ask yourself, is there anything I can do about it? If the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is no, I can't do anything about it, then why worry and then why stress about it? You can't do anything about it, right? So that's how I look at overthinking myself. Alright, so I'm going to take the last few questions, which is forgiveness and expectations. Can you shed some light on that? So, forgiveness is very different from expectations, but I think they are interdependent and interrelated in some format or the other, because we expect from people in life, we feel bad because sometimes expectations are not met, and thereafter we think that they need our forgiveness in some format or the other. So I would say that if you are expecting that people are going to forgive you, or if vice versa, then that's not correct, because you are not supposed to expect for forgiveness. You're not supposed to expect for anything, because expectation is that evil that clogs your mind towards the next opportunity that might come for you. So we should try to limit our expectations. In fact, just a week ago, I did a talk on expectations here on Namami Live. So you can go back and check it out about expectations, the video on that. I think that will give you much more clarity. All right. Someone's asked me, how can you be this perfect? I'm not perfect. I'm just rational. I make mistakes sometimes too, but I reason it out and I think it through. And everything that I share with each of you here on Mind Over Matter is all throughout my experiences. So there have been imperfect moments of mine, which today may seem to be perfect, but not everything is perfect. It's all about perspective. All right. Okay, last question is, how can someone forgive a person who has done something immensely wrong? To be honest, unless if somebody is murdered or raped, it's not considered immensely wrong, because these are the two things that become very subjective and very questionable, and it goes on to a very different note. But if you're talking about even domestic violence, if you're talking about other things, they all have a mechanism to them and they all can be worked out. I've dealt with cases of domestic violence when people come to me and saying, my husband beats me up, my wife beats me up sometimes. There is a pattern, and then there is a reason, and then there is, there is a method to the madness that can be resolved, that can be worked towards. When you talk about murder and when you talk about rape, it's a very different, it's an intensified thing, and that requires intensive therapy. Not like the other problems don't, but I'm just saying, when you say immensely wrong, I cannot say anything without really knowing what your situation is, and maybe then we can take it aside on that note. But understand that if you find it immensely wrong, that means that there was a particular expectation that you had for it, that the person should have behaved in this way, or person should have done in this manner, and not necessarily matched up to yours. The person is not always wrong. So if someone has cheated on you, they didn't mean to probably cheat on you. I agree, it's wrong, it's incorrect to you. But we need to find out here as to why did that happen and what led to that happen in some format or the other. And it can be resolved. All right, so I have received a bunch of people saying it was good, amazing. All right, so great. Someone said I'm looking pretty today. Nice to know. I thought I try to look nice on most days. All right. Okay, so great questions, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all and every single question. But if you have any questions, the video will be saved on Nomami Life's Mind Over Matter. And you can leave all your questions down there and I'll be happy to answer. Sorry. All right. Take care.